Hello my feral friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Panthera and I'm the Feralwood Witch. Today we're going to be doing another tarot deck review. So it's going to be a top-down video. Unfortunately, no face today, but I hope you enjoy. We're going to be doing our standard criteria of going through first impressions of the deck, then my categories for rating a deck, which is art, physical quality, and then ease of interpretation. Afterwards, we'll do a full flip through of the deck, and then we will do our deck interview at the end. So timestamps will be down below if you want to skip ahead and see the whole deck in its beauty and all that fun stuff. So today, the deck we're going to be reviewing is the Goddess of Love tarot deck, and while this is not a sponsored review, they did send me the deck, just so you all know. So this was sent to me by the publisher Tarcher Perigee, and it is a deck created by Gabriella Herstick and the artist Snakes for Hair. So I'm really excited to get into this deck. I'm a big fan of Gabriella Herstick and all of her content that she has created thus far, so I'm just really excited to dive into this. So thank you again to Tarcher Perigee for sending me this deck to review. Now first, let's go ahead and take a look at the box itself. So I have opened it, just so you all know, to take photos for my Instagram, but I have not actually flipped through the cards yet. So you guys are getting my first impressions. So Goddess of Love Tarot, a book and deck for embodying the erotic divine feminine. So see some of the art here. It is a very sturdy deck box. It is all very high color. It looks amazing. It's bold. The colors look great. It feels sturdy as can be. You've got the side there. I do love a good side, so it will look good on my bookshelf as well. The top has some sun detailing there, and then standard bottom stuff. So let's get to the back. Whether you are new to the tarot or a longtime enthusiast, this radiant 78 card deck and companion book are for anyone who wants to empower themselves through a deeper relationship with the goddess of love and sex and all of her manifestations. With Gabriella Herstick as your guide into the mysteries of the divine erotic, learn specific tarot spreads to assist in connecting to the energy of love and lust, as well as how to work with the cards to create rituals, prayers, and devotional offerings to Goddess and yourself. Through this deck and the Goddess of Love, come back to the body, the flesh, and the heart as your temple, most sacred source of power. And then you have all of her lovely links down there, and then Snakes for Hair is the artist who helped put this together as well. All right, let's open her up, shall we? So there is a guidebook that comes with this deck, and at first glance, I mean, it's pretty hefty. I like a good solid paperback. This feels strong. Some of my other deck reviews I've done, the book themselves, especially if they're not a hardback book, which I do love a good hardback, but I understand keeping costs down and doing a paperback. They do start to come apart with some use, but this is pretty much like, it feels like a good quality little, it almost feels like some of those paperback journals that you can buy. I don't see this coming apart anytime soon. All of the font is in this pink coloration, if you can see. Let me see if I can get it to focus, which might be a little difficult to read for those who have issues and need a darker coloration to read. So I do wonder if there's an online source that you can reference instead for accessibility purposes, but aesthetically it is beautiful. I love the page borders as well too, giving it this kind of ish whitish look on the edge. But overall, so there are no photos or art in the book itself, but it does look like it goes through every card, and I believe it mentioned that there would be spreads in here. So it's got a little brief bit about how to read the tarot, about the minor and major arcanas themselves, and it does have some spreads here. So that's kind of what I'm most excited about is with this book is the different spreads. And I do know that this is a deck that I believe some of the cards have been changed from a traditional tarot deck, so this will be helpful in those matters as well too. So we'll get to that later though. So here we have the actual deck in the box itself. I love how they have a nice area to set this down in. It is paper, so it's not super high quality of like a box insert there, but it's beautiful. They did a great job, I think, of keeping the aesthetic and keeping it affordable as well too, which is awesome, because as much as I like a really sturdy box with like the velvet inserts and so on, all of that brings up costs. So I like how they are keeping costs down in the places where they can without sacrificing some of the aesthetic and the quality. And then so let's get to the cards themselves. So all of the cards have this same kind of pink cloud background and then the moons on them, which is very nice. They do shuffle nicely too. They are a very nice thick cardstock. I like the rounded edges as well too. They feel nice and sturdy, but still flexible and bendable, easy to shuffle. First glance, I'm really happy with the quality. The red borders are a nice touch. There isn't any foiling on these cards, which I'm a sucker for some good gold or silver foiling. However, another way to keep costs down, which is nice as well too. The borders are beautiful with the thick red and then the white. They're very easy to read. It's very easy to know kind of what suits you're in. It looks like there's no other like symbols at the top besides just the actual symbols on the card to tell you what suit you're in. And it looks like, let me see, I just saw one of the major arcanas. Okay, so there is the numbers at the top for the major arcana at least. So next I'm going to do our full flip through, and then after I will regroup and we will talk about the deck and the scoring for it. All right, so that was our full flip through. So now let's get to the actual review of the cards. So our first category is art. In this category, like to kind of break it down to various criteria within. And in this case, it is visuals and colors, overall style, and diversity of characters within the art itself. So this is kind of the style, the presentation, all of that good stuff. So at first glance, I mean, the aesthetic is cohesive. They all have a very similar feel. The collage style is extremely unique. You see a lot of similar symbolism and features throughout. Like I noticed a lot of snakes in general. There's a lot of these kind of gemstones. There's a lot of blood imagery. There is a lot of different goddesses all throughout, and statues in particular. A lot of it seems to be from classical art kind of too. They all have that kind of vibe of like either statues or just kind of different depictions of femininity, and all of them kind of have a feeling of like old world almost. Some of these are ancient, right? And then some of these are from the more like classical period, like the Renaissance feeling of art. So we've got a lot of different styles kind of meshed together, but they do so in a way that still feels cohesive. Like the statues versus the Renaissance classical kind of art, they don't feel apart. You've got like 3D objects as well as 2D and all of these in a way that mixes color, and it is just beautiful. They did a fantastic job of making lots of different pieces feel like they belong as part of the whole. The use of color is fantastic as well. Obviously, you've got like the cups, and we can pick these out pretty distinctly. Here we have wands. There's a lot more fire and warmth there, a lot of fire in the background. So the colors, while still being cohesive, are also symbolic, it seems, as well. Lots of reds, lots of pinks and whites, of course, but also greens and blues and yellows. When I first was reached out to and given this deck, I was a little worried that it was going to be very, very Aphrodite kind of centric, or Venusian, if you will. And while it is Venusian for sure, I love how they incorporated goddesses from many different cultures. It makes it easier to connect to as somebody who does not personally work with Aphrodite or is really interested in working with Aphrodite, if I'm being totally honest. So I would recommend this to people who just are interested in the concept of love, lust, or in particular femininity. This is definitely a femme-centric deck, and I don't mean that in a way where it's necessarily focused just on AFAB individuals, but I think just anyone interested in tapping into that more femme side of themselves and the entire spectrum of what that means. And I mean, we see that a lot in the different imagery of this cards, where we do have like the mix of flowers and things that are traditionally considered feminine, flowers and pinks and reds and things like that, gems, but we also have that mixed with blood and a lot of these more kind of graphic images, the swords, the big cats. Like, it's very, very cool how they used all of these different things that represent femininity. So for visuals and colors, I'd give it a full score there. For overall style, I think that they do nail a very cohesive style throughout. Now, as for the diversity of characters within the art, I do think that they were a little short here. There are lots of different cultures included, but when it comes to just the art characters, the kind of classical images, and I know a lot of these are statues, so skin color isn't really... With a marble statue is a little more complicated than that, obviously, but I still would have liked to see more diversity in the actual characters throughout, because we have a lot of these white marble bodies, so to speak. I think there was only a few dark-skinned characters kind of through, and I just would have liked to see a little bit more, which is usually a common thing. Yeah, I think We have a few here. Would have just liked to see a little bit more inclusivity there, but I do like how they definitely took the time to kind of share lots of different cultures and goddesses from different cultures, which I think is great. But in the actual art, I would have liked to see a little more. So with that being said, here for the art, I think this category, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, just pulling 1 point there from the diversity section of it. Now let's get to the physical deck quality. So we have the sturdiness of the cards, the deck box itself, and any other items that came with the deck. So in this case, we do have the book here. The box itself is very, very sturdy. This is very good quality. Right now I just have the top here and I'm unable to shift it in any way. It is very strong. The color looks amazing printed on the box. Full points there. It looks great. You've got the inserts, which paper inserts, again, not super high quality, but they printed that pattern on it. It's very cohesive. I think this is a great way to store this deck, and I probably will be storing this deck in here forever. The guidebook itself, again, feels very good quality. I do like the colored printing. I think that's very unique. It fits with the aesthetic, which I love. The book itself feels great. It does not have images of the cards in it, which is a little bit of a negative, but understand with keeping the costs down there. And then the deck itself is very shuffleable. It feels very firm. The cards themselves have a good bend to them, a good feel to them, but they don't feel weak either. I feel like I can handle this deck firmly without being afraid I'm going to rip it or damage it in any way. So as for the quality of all of the items, I would have liked to see the cards depicted in the book, but that's the only thing that I kind of see missing here. And for the price point of this deck, which I believe is usually US 22 and Canadian 29, for a $22 deck, I think this is great quality. I don't necessarily care that there isn't the pictures in the guidebook for a $22 deck. I think this is a great quality for that cost. So I'm going to give it full points here, 5 out of 5. And now let's get to the ease of interpretation. So ease of interpretation category, this doesn't so much have to do with the quality of the deck, but more of if I would recommend it to beginners or not. Or would it maybe be better on the shelf of a more advanced tarot reader and added to their repertoire? In this case, I do not think it's a beginner deck at first glance. Now, I haven't done any readings with this deck yet. However, just from the flip through and everything, they are very abstract. A lot of these cards, specifically the minor arcana, are going to be very difficult to interpret if you are new to tarot, just based on the imagery of the cards, which is how I recommend getting started in tarot if you are interested in learning, which I will have my video for learning how to read tarot linked up above if you're interested in doing that and getting to know the tarot yourself. But because of that, I think the symbolism here is a little more next level. Also, they have changed a lot of the names of the cards to fit more with the theme. So instead of a king, we have a crone. Instead of a knight, we have a witch. And instead of a page, we have a maiden. So, and then the major arcana is completely shifted around. We have, I'm trying to find an example. Of course, I shuffled through here. I know there was the sovereign instead of the empress. It looks like we have balance instead of justice. We have lust, which isn't in a traditional tarot. So there is a lot of added cards here. The hierodule instead of the hierophant. Yeah, the sovereign instead of the emperor. So the enchantress instead of the magician. So because of that, it is going to be very different than a standard tarot. You're not going to be able to use your standard tarot resources really with this. You could for a lot of the cards, but not for all of them. And now that being said, there is a pretty great book here to be able to flip through and reference. It looks like they have astrological correspondences all listed there at the top too, and a pretty hefty definition here of the card. It even has a little blurb about being reversed, which is always great to see. And then affirmations and journal questions with each card. I think that makes this deck a really good option for those who do maybe a card a day kind of a thing, and you could pull your card, go through, read, and then you have your affirmation and your journal question for the day based on the card. You can even look up the astrological correspondences there. So if you're into that kind of tarot readings, I think this deck would be great. I would kind of use this more as probably an oracle deck personally, in that way, doing one card a day and kind of seeing how it carries me through. I probably would not be doing many 3-card readings plus with this one, just because of the imagery just doesn't click with me quite as much. But so as for ease of interpretation, symbolism, pretty difficult for this deck. However, the guidebook does help carry it a little bit there. So in this way, I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I think a beginner could take this deck and do 1 card pulls at a time, going through the book, and be able to get enough from it where I think they would be good. But I probably wouldn't recommend this deck for a full-on beginner unless they feel especially drawn to it. So that brings our full review total at a 12 out of 15 for the Goddess of Love Tarot. I do think that this is overall a fantastic deck, especially for the price. $22 for this really well done, high quality deck with beautiful imagery and art. I definitely think it is absolutely worth the cost there. And now let's get into our deck interview. I'm just going to go through and shuffle really thoroughly real quick. All right, so we are shuffled and ready to go. So our first card is, what card describes the deck? And here we have the 2 of Wands. So 2 of Wands is all about being directed towards a choice. You have a decision ahead of you. So in this case, I think this deck is fantastic for maybe answering some of those yes or no questions, this or that. What is my outcome if I take either of these 2 paths, sort of questions laid out in front of you, directing you towards maybe the path that is most in alignment with yourself. And in this case of this deck, grounded in those sort of divine feminine or love and lust focused energies. Our second card is, what is your energy like? And we have the 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords is a heavy card. There's a lot of heavy energy revolving around this deck. This is usually not a very positive card, but I think in this case, with the energy of the deck, it means that it cuts through, it cuts deep. It's not going to hold back. It is going to be maybe potentially overwhelming in how it answers some of the questions, so I would probably take this with care. I think it's more of stating that this deck isn't kind of the fluffy love and light aspect of the divine feminine. It's deeper than that. What are your strengths? We have the Chariot. Pushing through, focusing on what's ahead, steering the course. This is a great motivation deck. I do like the idea of this deck a lot as a daily tarot draw kind of deck, as I've mentioned before. I think that it is very focused on the path ahead and how you can kind of channel the energies in this deck in your journey forward into kind of embracing this side of yourself, whatever that means to you. What are your weaknesses? We have the 2 of Cups. This is an interesting card for weaknesses. In this case, I'm going to focus on kind of the emotional connectedness of the 2 of Cups. I think that this deck might be a little biased towards romance and relationships, perhaps. Usually 2 of Cups is very heavily associated with meeting a lover or connecting deeper with another individual, or maybe sometimes yourself. But it's definitely about that kind of connection. I do think that a lot of decks tend to have a personality, and just like people, maybe this deck's just a bit of a hopeless romantic. It might not be the most accurate when it comes to relationships, perhaps because it just wants them to succeed, so it might be a little biased there. This is an interesting card to get from this deck for that question. And now, what types of readings do you prefer to do? We have the Tower. Wow. Big changes, big life. I mean, I feel like this is really in alignment with the Two of Wands. Big choices up ahead, big life-changing moments. This deck wants to guide you through. With the Chariot there in the background with the strengths, it is all about pulling you through your darkest times. It wants to be there for you during those. This is a very interesting card. I'm liking these answers so far. I think this is really fun. I'm just really liking the energy of this deck right now. Now, what types of readings would you rather not do? We have the Seven of Swords. Interesting. So Seven of Swords, this is the card of deception usually. This is a card of, oftentimes this can come up in like cheating situations or somebody not being truthful. This deck does not like reading strife. We kind of saw this with the weaknesses in the Two of Cups, but it doesn't like maybe those dealing with the harsher side of relationships kind of questions, like do I trust them? What can I expect from this kind of a thing? It doesn't like those that might be maybe a negative situation in regards to love and relationships, or not even necessarily like a romantic relationship, but maybe like platonic ones as well. So interesting. It likes very particular things. And now, what sets you apart from other decks? We have the Two of Swords. So once again, we have lots of these twos, the yes or no, the kind of guiding you forward. So the Two of Swords is another decision-making card, similarly to the Two of Wands, but where the Two of Wands is more of energy, pushing forward, that fire, that passion. Swords being the element of air, we've got a lot more mental decision-making here, kind of. There's a lot more stillness in this card in comparison to the other two here. Right, we've got that balance, we've got that, here we have this downward swooping energy, and here we have very still stagnant but upward, upright energy. I think that this deck is going to show you why this decision is going to have things go the way it will, so to speak. So here we have the assisting with the decision making, and here we have how they're going to help you with the decision making. That's going to stand them apart from other decks. So this deck is going to go deep into the reasoning behind how it's going to help your decisions. And I think I'm actually going to be ending the deck interview here. Usually I go through my full deck interview spread, which I'll have linked up above. But the second half of the spread kind of is a little more personal, and I don't think I'm actually going to be sharing that half of my interview spreads with you all moving forward. I do have that full spread in a video, which I have linked if you want to do it with your new deck, but I think I'm going to be keeping that half of it just for myself. This half of the spread kind of shows you guys what you might be able to expect from the deck as well. And if you do get this deck and decide to do an interview, let me know how your answers might have been similar or different. I always love kind of comparing and contrasting these deck interview questions and their answers with other people. And that is all I have for you today, my feral friends. Thank you once again for being with me here. I know these videos tend to be quite long, so if you've made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you so much. And thank you again to Tarcher Perigee for sending me this beautiful deck, and to the creators of the deck as well, Gabriella Herstick and Snakes for Hair, for creating this really quite amazing deck. I am not sure how I might incorporate this into my practice yet. I've been thinking about maybe giving it to one of my friends who works with Aphrodite, or if I want to hold on to it for maybe special occasion kind of readings. I do like the rituals and the affirmations and things a lot, so I might be incorporating some of that into my normal tarot routine. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll have a check-in and see kind of how I'm using this in a few months. I hope you guys enjoy this deck if you decide to get it yourself. I will have it linked down below if you are interested in purchasing it. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely day, and until I see you next time, stay wild. Bye-bye!